Welcome to principle number 13 from A Miracle That Changed the World, the 5,000-Year Leap. And principle number 13 ought to be something that you are excited about. Here it is. A constitution should be constructed to permanently protect the people from the human frailties of their rulers. So let's get into this. At the Constitutional Convention, the Founding Fathers were concerned with the one tantalizing question which no political scientist in any age had yet been able to answer with complete satisfaction. The question was, how can you have an efficient government but still protect the freedom and unalienable rights of the people? New topic. Distrust of power, not necessarily disrespect for leaders. The founders had more confidence in the people than they did in the leaders of the people, especially trusted leaders, even themselves. They felt the greatest danger arises when a leader is so completely trusted that the people feel no anxiety to watch him. Alexander Hamilton wrote, "For it is a truth which the experience of all ages has attested, that the people are commonly most in danger when the means of injuring their rights are in the possession of those toward them they entertain the least suspicion." 200 years of American history have demonstrated the wisdom of the founders in proclaiming a warning against the frailties of human nature in the people's elected or appointed leaders. Every unconstitutional action has usually been justified because it was for a quote-unquote good cause. Every illegal transfer of power from one department to another has been excused as quote-unquote necessary. The whole explosion of bureaucratic power in Washington has been the result of trusting benign political leaders, most of whom really did have good intentions. Thomas Jefferson struck out with all the force that tongue and pen could muster against trusting in human nature. Said he, "It would be a dangerous delusion were a confidence in the men of our choice to silence our fears for the safety of our rights. That confidence is everywhere the parent of despotism. Free government is founded in jealousy and not in confidence. It is jealousy and not confidence which prescribes limited constitutions to bind down those whom we are obliged to trust with power. That our Constitution has accordingly fixed the limits to which and no farther our confidence may go." In questions of power, then, let no more be said of confidence in man, but bind him down from mischief by the chains of the Constitution. New topic. Government is coercive force. George Washington made it very clear why all of this was necessary. The founders looked upon government as a volatile instrument of explosive power which must necessarily be harnessed within the confines of a strictly interpreted constitution, or it would destroy the very freedom it was designed to preserve. He said, government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Wow. New topic. Leaders are not angels, but fragile human beings. James Madison saw the problem of placing power in the hands of fallible human beings who, by nature, contain a complexity of elements reflecting both good and evil. The purpose of a constitution is to define the area in which a public official can serve to his utmost ability, but at the same time provide strict limitations to chain him down from mischief. In every human being, there is a natural tendency to practice Parkinson's law of perpetual expansion and to exercise personal proactivities toward egomania and self-aggrandizement. As we indicated earlier, Madison was very concerned about human frailties in the leaders of the people. He said, "It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices as constitutional chains should be necessary to control the abuse of government. But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections on human nature? If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. But lacking this, in framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the government, and in the next place oblige it to control itself." New topic. Why the original Constitution will never be obsolete. And that is what the Constitution is all about. Providing freedom from abuse by those in authority. Anyone who says the American Constitution is obsolete just because social and economic conditions have changed does not understand the real genius of the Constitution. It was designed to control something which has not changed and will not change, namely human nature. New topic. Danger of losing constitutional rights. Furthermore, the founders knew from experience that the loss of freedom through the gradual erosion of constitutional principles is not always so obvious that the people can readily detect it. Madison stated, "I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations. This danger ought to be wisely guarded against." New thought. When erosion occurs, act quickly. In 1785, Madison had occasion to issue a vigorous warning to his own state of Virginia. It is proper to take alarm at the first experiment on our liberties. We hold this prudent jealousy to be the first duty of citizens and one of noblest characteristics of the late Revolution. The freedmen of America did not wait till usurped power had strengthened itself by exercise and entangled the question in precedents. They saw all the consequences of governmental abuse in the principle, and they avoided the consequences by denying the principle on which the abuses were based. We revere this lesson too much to forget it. Memorial and remonstrance is quote unquote in Rivers and Friedel. It was letters and other writings by James Madison. But where are the encroachments of abusive rulers most likely to attack? Is there some basic right which self-aggrandizing politicians seek to destroy first? The founders said there was. Mankind has so many rights that it is sometimes difficult to keep a watchful eye on all of them. Therefore, the founders said we should especially concentrate on the preservation of one particular right because of all other rights are related to it. This special object of concern is identified in our next principle.